what ride sharing is like around the world. It can be in a car, in a boat, or even on a motorcycle. It can be for short distances or long, in a group or solo, and it can even act like a bank. Hey everyone, I'm Jeff. Welcome back to Plain English, the podcast that goes at just the right speed for English language learners. JR is our producer. He's the one who makes sure you get these audios every week delivered to your podcast app. And there's also a transcript of today's episode online at plainenglish.com/158. Coming up on today's episode, if you thought rideshare just meant sitting in the back of an average car, you're going to learn a lot on today's episode. We'll talk about Scotty, the motorcycle startup in Istanbul, BlaBlaCar, which will take you for a long ride, Uber Auto, which is for auto rickshaws in India, Easy Taxi, which is more like your traditional taxi ride, only in an app format. A lot of different ways that the ride-sharing movement is manifesting itself around the world. Later on, I'll also explain what it means to talk someone's ear off. And we'll close the show with a quote from a famous Robert Frost poem. All coming up today on Plain English. Before we do that, quick reminder how to get in touch with us here at Plain English. You can send an email to me, Jeff, at plainenglish.com, or even a WhatsApp message. And you know I really like getting WhatsApp voice messages. There's no reason to be shy about that either. The WhatsApp number is +1 312 967 8757. And if you have a WeChat account, you can find me with the username Plain English Pod. Picture this. You are in Mumbai. You need to get from point A to point B. You have 50 rupees, which is like 70 US cents. You pull out your phone, open the Uber app, and request an Uber Moto. A motorcyclist zips through the cars to pick you up. You strap on an orange helmet, climb on the back, hold on for dear life, and hop off at your destination, and you might even have 30 rupees change. If that's not your style, you can also call a speedboat. I'm not even joking about that. Uber launched Uber Boat, with which you can call a speedboat on demand to whisk you away on one of 3 routes. You can hop on at the gateway to India, right in the center of the action, and head out for a relaxing stroll on the beach near Mandwa Jetty. We all know about Uber XL. If you really want to travel in style, you need to order an Uber XL. And it's no different on the waves than it is on the pavement. You can order an Uber Boat XL for a speedboat that can carry up to 10 people. And you thought ride-sharing was just for cars. Well, so did I until my last trip to India, where I saw people hopping on the backs of motorcycles. And that's why I thought it would be fun to do an episode about how people experience ride-sharing around the world. Now, most of you are pretty tech-savvy, so by now, I'm sure you know about the ride-sharing revolution. Companies like Uber and Lyft match individual drivers in their own cars with people who want to get from point A to point B. It's easier, often cheaper, often safer, and more convenient than taking a regular taxi. But as we're hearing, that's not the only way to do ride sharing. One of the most popular ways to get around, besides by car, as I mentioned earlier, is by motorcycle. Uber isn't the only one matching motorcyclists with passengers. In Istanbul, an app called Scotty is doing the same thing. The founder, Tarkan Anlar, got the idea when he himself hitched a ride on the back of a motorbike in Istanbul's famous traffic. Today, Scotty has 12,000 to 13,000 riders, all of whom have to pass a rigorous training program. Motorbike drivers skew younger. In places like Vietnam and India, it's much more affordable for a younger person to own a motorbike than to own a car. You can also hail an auto rickshaw, also known as a tuk-tuk, in many parts of the world, including Africa and Asia. These little three-wheeled vehicles are decidedly low-tech, but they are also quick and convenient. In many cases, they're just what rideshare customers need. Safety is also a concern when riding in someone else's car or on the back of their motorbike. Rideshare apps are often considered safer than local taxis because there's always an electronic record of who picks you up, when, where, and where they drop you off. That gives riders a sense of security in places where taxis have traditionally been unsafe. Most rideshare apps are competitors to normal taxis, but the app Easy Taxi brings the technological sophistication of rideshare apps to the normal taxi market. I first took Easy Taxi in Colombia in 2014, and I was generally impressed with it. Women often have unique safety concerns, in some places more than others. In Saudi Arabia, both Uber and the local app Careem allow newly empowered women drivers to select women-only passengers. Egypt has a new app that's exclusively for women drivers called Fianca. A lot of women are hesitant to become drivers out of fear for their own safety with male passengers, so having a female-only option lets them feel safer and use this economic opportunity to become a driver. Most ride-sharing is for short distances, but you may have heard of the app BlaBlaCar. This connects two people who are going longer distances. If you're going to drive to another city a few hours away, you might be willing to take another passenger for a little bit of money. What could go wrong? Well, you might like to ride in silence, but your companion might want to talk your ear off. That's why BlaBlaCar lets you rate your level of chattiness. If you call yourself just blah, then you most likely want to keep to yourself. Blah blah is a moderate level of conversation, and if you call yourself blah blah blah, then you could be talking the whole way from Paris to Portugal. BlaBlaCar is mostly available in Europe, though it's also in Mexico, Brazil, and India. Increasingly, rideshare companies are about more than just giving you a ride. In the US, we have Uber Eats, which will deliver your lunch or dinner from a local restaurant. In Southeast Asia, your rideshare driver might also be your friendly neighborhood banker. Grab is based in Singapore, and Gojek started in Indonesia and is now expanding in the region. Both apps allow you to pay for your ride in cash, but they also let you top up your balance. That means you pay your driver more than your ride costs, and the difference is added to your balance on a mobile wallet. You can then pay with your app at retailers and restaurants. This works well in this part of the world where so many people don't have traditional bank accounts. In fact, Grab and Gojek are even expanding into other types of financial products, such as insurance and loans. I can't go through a whole episode on rideshare without at least touching on the giant of them all, China. The local giant, Didi, went head-to-head with Uber for years and ultimately bought out Uber's China business. In addition to taxis, Didi offers designated driver services, minibuses, bikes, and even fleets for corporations. I saw a survey that asked city dwellers in various countries if they've taken a ride-sharing app in the last week. China was the only country in which more than 50% of the respondents said yes. So Didi must be doing something right. They're now also in Brazil under the 99 brand and will be expanding into Peru and Chile this year. I want to say hello to a couple of people today. First of all, Pablo from Cordoba, Argentina, listens to plain English on his walk to school, and he's only 17. He's still in high school and listening to English and understanding all these complicated topics from around the world. I'm thrilled to have you with us, Pablo, and thanks for inviting us into your daily walks. Shiva from Chennai, India, is waiting for the results of the Indian election, which we talked about a few weeks ago. He's been listening for 3 months. Nice to have you with us, Shiva. Bruno from Sao Paulo, Brazil, and Felipe, formerly of Sao Paulo, but he and his family are now in the Boston area. Well, I was going to do Hitch a Ride, and about 2 paragraphs into the write-up, I realized that I had done that already. That was way back in episode 4, so I had to pick another one, and I chose, or I should say JR chose, the phrase, talk someone's ear off. Now, I'm going to warn you, this is an idiom. And like most idioms, you really only want to use it once in a while. In my personal, humble opinion, most English classes spend too much time on idioms, and the result is that English learners overuse idioms, and by doing so, they sound unnatural. You really want to use idioms like this one rarely, but there are those occasional times where an idiom like this is exactly what's called for. To talk someone's ear off is to talk so much that the other person is exhausted from listening to you. If you rate yourself just blah in the long-distance rideshare app BlaBlaCar, then you don't really want to talk too much in the car. That's kind of like me. You probably don't want to be matched up with someone who rates himself blah, 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 because that person would probably talk your ear off. That person would talk the whole time, and you would have no choice but to sit there and listen to it. I've had a few Uber drivers talk my ear off. I don't mind chatting for a little bit, but I usually like to say hello, talk for a minute, and then just relax. I don't need someone talking my ear off about traffic and their usual routes to the airport and what's going on in the city that weekend and how busy they are driving that day and what happened that one time they started driving really early in the morning and how they try to only drive when there's surge pricing. You get the idea. I just prefer my Uber drivers to please not talk my ear off. Now, it isn't always a bad thing. You can use it in an endearing way. You guys know JR. He's the producer. He's from Mexico. And when he came to the US for the first time, he discovered all these ways that Americans spend their money that just seemed so foreign to him, like such a waste of money. And if you ask JR about the crazy ways Americans spend their money, he'll talk your ear off, like buying gluten-free food or paying people to walk your dogs, tipping hairstylists, buying flavored olive oil, buying a stroller for your pet. Now, I'm an American, and I will admit that one is crazy. But JR can go on and on. He can talk your ear off when it comes to the crazy things Americans spend their money on. There are a couple of stereotypes of people who talk your ear off. CrossFitters. Have you ever had a conversation of less than 15 minutes about CrossFit with someone who does it? I didn't think so. If you engage someone who does CrossFit in a conversation about their workout routines, I guarantee you are not getting out of that conversation for a minimum of 15 minutes. They can talk your ear off about CrossFit. Crypto. The cryptocurrency enthusiasts will talk your ear off. Well, less so now than during the height of the crypto mania. I remember 2 years ago, I was sitting at a holiday party with my coworkers, and I got stuck sitting next to someone who talked my ear off about Bitcoin. Bitcoin was the future of money. Bitcoin was the only way to protect yourself against inflation. We're all going to be paying in Bitcoin one of these days. On and on. He invested a ton of his savings in Bitcoin. In a few months, it had gone from about $17,000 for one Bitcoin when we had that conversation to like $3,000 a couple months later. He talked my ear off, but good thing I didn't take his advice and invest in cryptocurrencies back then. Now, I know there are crypto fans in the audience. I have heard from more than a few of you. I'm not saying anything bad about cryptocurrencies as an idea. I am just saying that a lot of cryptocurrency fans can talk your ear off. Okay, today's episode was about transportation, so I wanted to get you a travel quote. And I thought about one that is a commonly used English expression. It's from a poem called The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. Here it is. These are the last 3 lines of the poem. Here we go. 2 roads diverged in a wood. and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. The expression in English is the road less traveled, and that means to make a choice that is not the popular choice. When the speaker in the poem has the choice between two paths, he chose the one less traveled, and it made all the difference. So the quote, once more, from the final lines of the Robert Frost poem is, "Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference." Thanks again for being with us. We have a lot of new listeners. There are people discovering the show for the first time every day. And if that's you, then welcome. We are here every Monday and Thursday, and there's a rich library of previous episodes to listen to as well. I'm uploading all the episodes one by one to a website in China called Himalaya, and it's a nice stroll down memory lane to see all the old episode topics once again. We've been at this for about almost a year and a half now. Anyway, if you're not on the email list yet, I would encourage you to sign up. Go to plainenglish.com/mail, M-A-I-L. If you sign up there, you'll get an email for every episode with links to English articles about the main topic and an extra word or phrase explained in the notes. I also send the occasional message on the weekends about topics we've covered in the past, and it's all free. That's the fun part. plainenglish.com/mail, M-A-I-L. JR and I will be back on Thursday. See you then. If you've enjoyed today's episode, then you'll love Plain English Plus. That's because with Plain English Plus, you can get even more from your favorite English podcast. We offer video lessons, flashcards, 2 versions of every episode, and of course, our famous online transcripts with translations into 7 languages. What are you waiting for? Come join us at plainenglish.com/plus.